Reimagining leadership, matriarchs, modern women, and the multi-intelligent revolution. Relax and think of the collage of ancient matriarchal sculptures, Celtic goddesses, African Queen Mother masks. We think of Jacinda Ardern and Angela Merkel addressing COVID briefings. Tonight, we shatter the myth of the lone, warlike alpha. We trace power back to the first council fires where Queen Zanobia of Palmyra negotiated peace under olive trees. We fast forward to 2020 when Jacinda Ardern soothed a nation while others laughed off hospitals. We ask, what if leadership tables reflected the breadth of human intelligence, IQ, EQ, SQ, and AIQ? If you believe the future needs not just strength but empathy, join us. Expect bold matriarchal histories, clinical data on women's brain advantages, and a manifesto for multi-intelligent governance. Ancient matriarchs and emotional rule, artistic depictions of Cleopatra, the Celtic Queen Maeve, the Indian Queen Razia Sultana, African Mino of Lydia. Across continents, from Lydia's Mino to India's Razia, women led with emotional acuity. Cleopatra forged alliances, not conquests. Celtic Queen Maeve settled clan disputes by council, not cavalry. In Ethiopic law, Queen Makeda achieved trade peace through empathy. These matriarchs wielded social intelligence, SQ, first. They read the unspoken currents of loyalty, fear, and hope. Imagine governance that prioritized relationship building over resource raids. Modern historians like Cynthia Eller argue these societies balanced survival with social cohesion. Their matrilineal councils managed resource sharing, conflict mediation, and justice, all precursors to our modern EQ. If violence was males' hunting ground, governance was women's sanctuary. Cynthia Eller says, ancient goddess cultures teach us that connection, not coercion, shapes enduring communities. Women's brains and modern science MRI scans highlighting female frontal lobe blood flow side by side with male brain scans. Neuroscience confirms what matriarchs knew. Women's brains excel in planning, impulse control, and collaboration. A 2014 Frontiers in Human Neuroscience study showed women have 20% more prefrontal cortex perfusion, key to empathy and ethical reasoning. The American Psychological Association reports women score 11% higher on emotional recognition tests. Contrast that with the 2021 World Economic Forum data. Nations with more gender-equal leadership weathered COVID-19 with 35% fewer deaths per capita. Boris Johnson, multi-intelligence. Let me unpack these four engines. IQ, cognitive intelligence. Illumination through data. Numbers reveal patterns invisible to the naked eye. Rising hotspots, supply chain bottlenecks, environmental thresholds. In Nairobi, real-time GIS maps highlighted groundwater depletion zones. In Milan, financial models forecasted small business failures with 92% accuracy. IQ is the compass pointing us toward urgent needs. EQ, emotional intelligence, human connection through empathy. Behind every data point lies a person, mothers, shopkeepers, teachers, each with fears, hopes, and fractured lives. During wildfires in California, EQ-driven communications, acknowledging loss, offering clear next steps, reduced evacuation hesitancy by 33%, University of Stanford 2022. EQ crafts messages people trust. SQ, social intelligence, collective resilience through networks. SQ is the bedrock of community engagement, the teacher who mentors, the neighbour who volunteers, the youth group that organises relief. In Mumbai, social cohesion workshops turned slum residents into first responders after monsoon floods, reducing casualties by 26%. SQ weaves human webs that stabilise society when systems falter. AIQ, artificial intelligence, ethical foresight through code. AIQ embeds fairness, transparency, and sustainability into every algorithmic decision. In Toronto, an AIQ framework recalibrated public housing allocation algorithms to correct for historical redlining. Bias audits dropped error rates from 18% to 2% and restored trust among marginalised tenants. Integrative application of multi-intelligence in a picture of a pandemic response. IQ identifies emerging clusters via genomic and mobility data. EQ crafts culturally sensitive messages. I feel your anxiety. Here's what we can do together. SQ activates local volunteers to distribute PPE, translate materials, and check on isolated elders. AIQ scans vaccination rollout data to ensure no community is left behind, flagging inequities and rerouting supplies in real time. This isn't theory. In Singapore's 2021 Omicron response, this multi-intelligence model cut hospital admissions by 42%, outperforming single-axis strategies. Leaders stopped being lone generals and became networked stewards. Each engine amplifies the others. Data without empathy is cold. Empathy without data is directionless. Networks without ethics can fracture. Ethics without social channels cannot act. Call-out graphic. Download our multi-intelligent toolkit at changeacademy.elena.co.uk. Now we shall see a COVID-19 case study, empathy versus ego. In hindsight, the global pandemic was also a stress test for leadership psyche. Who led with empathy and who defaulted to bravado? Let's examine the data and decisions that saved or cost lives. New Zealand, Ardern's empathy-driven playbook IQ. Daily public dashboards tracked case trajectories, hospital capacity, and testing positivity. Data scientists recalibrated models overnight. EQ. Jacinda Ardern's addresses began with Kia ora, a heartfelt greeting. She acknowledged fear, tears, and fatigue before outlining the strategy. This emotional candor cultivated trust. A 2022 University of Auckland survey found 85% public approval for her communication style. SQ, community enforcement squads, staffed by volunteers and Maori leaders, supported contact tracing, food deliveries, and mental health check-ins. AIQ, the Errata QR code system embedded privacy safeguards, avoiding the invasive contact tracing apps that stoked public anxiety elsewhere. Outcomes: 0 daily deaths for weeks in late 2020, 88% vaccination uptake within 3 months, and minimal long-term economic scarring. NZ Treasury 2022. United Kingdom, Johnson's delayed lockdown. IQ, scientific advisories in February and March 2020 flagged exponential spread. Yet, leadership resisted immediate restrictions. EQ, public messaging mixed humour with minimisation. Keep calm and carry on, undermining risk perception. A YouGov poll in May 2020 showed only 45% confidence in government communications. SQ. Local councils and community groups grappled with furlough schemes, supply gaps, and disinformation, lacking coherent central coordination. AIQ. Data platforms for distribution of PPE and vaccines suffered legacy biases. Regions hardest hit by initial waves faced slower deliveries due to archaic postcode-based allocation. Outcomes: UK experienced one of the highest early mortality rates in Europe, The Lancet 2021, and long COVID prevalence soared. United States, a patchwork of approaches, IQ. Federal models predicted range of cases, but state-level adoption varied wildly. EQ. Governors like Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan led with transparent empathy. We share your heartbreak. Others, like those who held large rallies, prioritized optics over public health. SQ, grassroots mutual aid networks in cities like Oakland, delivered resources to vulnerable residents when official channels lagged. AIQ, some health departments used machine learning triage to prioritize ICU beds ethically. Others relied on first-come, first-served, exacerbating disparities. Outcomes. States with high EQ and strong AIQ frameworks saw 30% lower hospitalization rates per capita, Johns Hopkins 2022. Quote, The Lancet, policy infused with empathy correlates with higher compliance and better health outcomes. Visuals, New Zealand's press briefings, the UK Parliament scenes, US rallies. In 2020, Jacinda Ardern's team combined daily data dashboards, IQ, with frank, heartfelt addresses, EQ. She closed schools swiftly, eased mental health burdens, and secured 0 daily deaths by compassionate lockdown enforcement. Contrast, Boris Johnson joked on camera, delaying national action. US governors split. Some led with facts, others with bravado. A Yale study found that female heads of state enacted lockdowns 1.6 days earlier on average, reducing transmission rates by 40%. Emotional leadership saved lives. The Lancet said, policy infused with empathy correlates with higher compliance and better health outcomes. The evidence is undeniable. To heal our world, we must rebalance leadership tables, invite emotional, social, and ethical intelligence alongside raw data. If you believe in multi-intelligent governance, share this video. Tag a woman leader inspiring you. Subscribe for our toolkit on embedding EQ, SQ, and AIQ in your organization. Together, we can reimagine power, rooted in compassion, guided by ethics, and amplified by innovation. Closing mantra: I lead with heart, I govern with mind, I serve with soul. Subscribe and download Toolkit. Join our newsletter links below.